hi, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, but I would love it if you could watch this post before tomorrow, because tomorrow I want to reserve it for really going through what those 9 strengths roles are that you were measured against, and then taking all your questions about what your results mean or what you can do about them. There's a couple of things that really important to share before we dive into that, and I thought I would use this post to get those, in a sense, out of the way. And they begin with this simple question: how much of you can you change, and how much of you is enduring over the course of your lifetime? That's a pretty big question, isn't it? Because when somebody says you should be the best you possible, what's the you bit? And what's the bit that you can change about you? Because if you could change everything about you, then there is no you there, is there? So which bits of you are enduring, beautiful, but enduring, and which bits of you are changeable? It's funny, isn't it? If you've ever been to a high school reunion, it's weird because the people, when they meet you, they might see some parts of you have changed, but they recognize you. You haven't become a different human. And of course, same is true with you and the people that you meet there. The person who was always late, she's late at the high school reunion. And the person who's the life of the party, well, he's the life of the party. And the person who's forgotten her ticket, she can't get in, well, she was always the person who, like, it's funny how those patterns persist over the course of people's lives. So here's the thing. There are clearly some things about you that you can learn, which in the literature are called states. And there are things about you that are enduring, and those are called traits and states. Traits are enduring, states change. So in terms of thinking about this for your kids or your spouse or people on your team, we could call states skills and knowledge. You can change the skills that you have, and you can change the knowledge that you have. If you don't know how to make guacamole, then I can tell you the steps on how to make guacamole. If you don't know the date of the Declaration of Independence, I can tell you the date of the Declaration of Independence. Schools and universities are really good at teaching skills, series of steps on how to do something, and knowledge. By the way, of course, some knowledge is self-knowledge. So you can become over time more aware of yourself, less defensive about yourself, more open to people's understanding of who you are. So that's also a form of knowledge. It's not facts, it's self-knowledge. So skills and knowledge, you can change. But then there's a whole other category of stuff. How impatient are you? How instinctively competitive are you? How naturally empathetic are you? How comfortable with ambiguity are you? How much of an instinctive what-if thinker are you? How conceptual are you? How much you have a need for achievement every single day so that every single day starts at 0. These are some things about you that we call traits that are enduring. Now, if you don't want to use the word traits, you could use attributes. So I like the word talents. My mentor, Don Clifton, called those talents, and not just talents in terms of the ability to play the violin, but talents. Empathy is a talent. Competitiveness is a talent. What-if thinking is a talent. Any recurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior that you have, that's a talent. When you see the differences between your kids, and you see that one of them is instinctively, like Jack, my son, is instinctively rule following. Like I wasn't able to close the blind of the window in the airline seat in front of me, because it might, if I was sitting next to him with Jack would go, "Don't close that, Dad, that's his in front." Like at 5 he would say this, because that blind belongs to the person in front, not to us. So at a very young age you can start to see that your kids have certain natural, in Jack's case, sort of natural instincts around rules and rightness and justice. He's still got that, by the way. Those are talents, and those are enduring. They are not a function of your race or your gender or your age, because you'll have them at 5, you'll have them at 85. They're a function simply of the clash of the chromosomes. When you were conceived, even though you've got a brother, and even though you've got a sister, or you've got a cousin, or something, even though these people have very similar DNA to you, you're not the same as them, are you? You're very different, even from the people you're most closely related to. So your uniqueness in terms of your natural talents your natural recurring patterns of thought, feeling, or behavior are a function of just the uniqueness of your mental wiring. And we can see what your uniqueness is by the way in which you instinctively react to the world around you. If somebody challenges you, how do you react? If you've got to bring organization and structure to something, do you do it? On a Friday night when there's nothing for you to do you instinctively alphabetize your spice rack? Why are you doing that? Do you play puzzles? What do you instinctively do is a really good way for you to start to see what your natural talents are. Not skills and knowledge, that's trainable, but what your natural talents are. Standout is trying to measure your natural talents, not your skills and knowledge. It's trying to measure, through the right sort of scenarios, those things about you that are enduring and resistant to change. That's why what it does, and this is a little inside baseball, but what it did for you in 15 minutes, it gave you 34 different scenarios. Little situations, boom, here's one, boom, here's one, boom, here's one. Which way do you jump? Which way do you jump? Which way do you jump? That's why we put it under a timer, so that you didn't have a chance to stop and intellectualize and analyze and theorize. We just went, hey, a friend at work passes your idea off as her own. What would you do? What would you do? Would you let it go because you can always come up with another one? Would you tell her that what she did was wrong? What would you do? What's your instinctive reaction? And then we gave you another scenario and another scenario. We measured 9 strengths roles, and I'll tell you what strengths roles are tomorrow, but we measured them 12 times. You didn't know it was 12 times, but 12 times we gave you a chance to jump in a way that was relevant to one of those 9. So whatever your top 2 were, they weren't random. We were watching your natural instinctive responses to the scenarios we put in front of you when you didn't have time to intellectualize or theorize. And we saw which way you jumped when you didn't know what the right answer was. For those of you that know psychometrics, this is called a situational judgment test. We throw a situation at you, we see which way you jump, and we see which way you jump, and then we see it again, and we see it again. And out of this comes a pattern. What we're measuring are your natural recurring patterns. We're not measuring skills and knowledge that you can change. Of course, what that means, by the way, is the first time you take standout is the best. Because the second time you take it, you think about this, the second time you've taken, you've got your report, you read your report, you now have what's called a prepared mind. Your mind is now prepared. The next time you take it, not only is your mind prepared by the results you've just read, you've also seen those scenarios once before. And so although I saw that some of you had taken it twice, which is fine, but the first time is the best time because we're approaching you with a scenario you've never heard before with an unprepared mind, and we're seeing which way you jumped. So, by the way, for those of you that know, of course, you can measure reliability over time. It's called test, retest reliability. So what we've done in the course of building Standout is you test, retest reliability to show that people who take the assessment at time 1, if you don't give them the results and then you wait at least 6 months and you give it to them again, are the results the same? And what you find actually is that when you do that, 90% of people have 2 of in their top 3, 2 of them are the same 90% of the time. So we're clearly measuring something that is enduring about you across time. Lastly, really important for you to know, we're trying to measure your natural advantages, your natural angle of attack, if you like. We're not trying to sum up your personality. This isn't like one of those personality quizzes like Enneagram or DISC, if you've taken that, or Myers-Briggs, which are interesting, and they're trying to kind of sum up who you are as a human. Standout was not trying to do that. Frankly, we're not trying to bite off all of that. Like, who the heck are you in all of your weird complexity? I mean, you're incredibly beautifully complex, rich, and varied. Instead, when I built it, I was trying to be humble and just go, look, I don't know what you're into. I don't know what subjects you love. I don't know what situations that you love. I don't know what books you read. I don't know any of that. But what I can do is throw you 34 different scenarios, see which way you jump, and then help you know that there are certain angles of attack that you have. And so all we're trying to do is pinpoint those recurring, beautiful angles of attack. There's 9 strengths roles that we measured you on. We gave you your top 2. There are 72 combinations of top 2. And the order matters. And your number 3 matters. And so all we're trying to do is say, in a sense, what are your strengths coordinates? When I took it, I got creator stimulator, which are, of course, the right 2. So if you want to take it again and again in order to get the right 2, best of luck. That's a joke. Those are not the right 2. Those are my 2. Creator stimulator are like my strengths coordinates. If you want to know me a little better, if you want to know what drives me, if you want to know how I make sense of relationships, if you want to know how I make sense of information that hits me, if you want to know how I make sense of the world, meet me on the corner of creator stimulator. Now, you may have creator stimulator, but what's on your corner is going to be different than what's on my corner. So I use creator stimulator in a way to write books, do research, do presentations, and I can see how those 2 strengths roles manifest in me. And I suppose my job as a person is to figure out how to make the best use of creator stimulator. But your creator stimulator, if those are your 2, might be manifested really differently. You could be a ballet dancer. I don't know. And so it's like, meet me on the corner of creator stimulator, but once we get out of the car, the smells on your corner versus mine, what you built on your corner versus what I built on mine, what's happening on this corner for you versus what's happening on mine will be quite different. All we know for sure is that if we know that my top 2 strengths roles are creator stimulator and yours are too, we now know something about you in terms of how you learn, how you think, how you make sense of experience, how you build relationships. We know something about me and you that is similar. And that beautiful idea that you can only really know how 2 people are different if you can know initially how they're the same. So that's what we started with, to try to measure your strengths coordinates, if you will. This doesn't mean that I can't grow. It's one of the big, it's one of the big fallacies about human beings, isn't it? About us, that there's either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. You might even have read Carol Dweck's work around growth mindset versus fixed mindset. The idea that some people think that you're fixed and you can't grow, and other people think you can grow. But I don't know. I mean, God love Carol, but I think that's the question. Do you grow or not? The question really is, where will you grow the most? And so the thing to think about tomorrow when we all jump on the phone will be that the point of doing Standout is that you can grow. Like I can grow. Every human being can grow and learn and get better, or get less defensive, or get to be a more intelligent version of themselves. The question isn't whether or not that will happen or not. The question is, where and how will you grow the most? And all of the science is telling us that you and me, each of us will learn and grow the most in the areas where we've already shown some natural advantage. Our strengths are the areas where we grow the most. So the reason to take Standout, way back when before that, the reason to take Strength Finder was because you'll grow the most in your areas of greatest strength. So can we give you a really coherent and simple language to understand where your strengths lie so that you can figure out how to learn and grow and become the most intelligent, most contributive version of yourself? Okay, that's what I wanted to share this evening. I hope you have a chance to have a look at this before tomorrow, and I will see you all tomorrow. And please be ready with your questions, because I'm live and I love questions. See you tomorrow.